Some contact sports for some time now have been accused of actually being more dangerous for athletes than we actually realize. High contact sports like the NFL and rugby, as well as combat sports like MMA and boxing, can actually lead to concussions, but there could be a solution coming through in the near future. Today we're discussing a wearable sensor that may help detect concussions early in athletes. Stay with us. Let's jump straight in then. What's this all about? You might be shocked to learn that there are almost 4 million registered sports-related injuries every year in the USA, across all aspects from youth leagues to professional. There is another alarming stat which suggests that between 5 and 8% of athletes in the state suffer a concussion during any given sports season. This is simply too much. Concussions occur when an impact on a player happens, usually through a collision with another player, which generally takes place when a whiplash event happens, a high acceleration head movement. However, these things can lead to further complications if not immediately treated, and detecting them early on is important to avoid problems down the line. And a detection device is reportedly on the way. A small flexible patch which sits neatly on an athlete's neck is reportedly being developed, which was published in the Scientific Reports journal recently. Professor of Electrical Engineering at Michigan State, Nelson Sepulveda, said, "Whenever there is a movement of the neck, there is pressure either in the form of contraction or tension. Those moments are picked up by a patch and translated to an electrical signal. The device works by producing an electrical signal which directly correlates to the amount of strain in the neck, whilst also estimating the acceleration and velocity of neck movement, and you would barely notice it was there too. The patch is around 0.1 millimeters thick, so why wouldn't an athlete want to wear it if it helps? Good idea, right? So what else do we know about it? Stay tuned to find out." Sepulveda was again on hand to explain what scientists want to achieve from the device: untethered patches that can provide real-time information about the head and neck movement of the athlete. The tests were done using a dummy on a metal plate, and monitored as to the 3D head movements which could occur on a human head. Incredibly, the results showed that the sensor was around 90% accurate when compared to other technology in the field. The device is supposed to provide information on the dynamics of the head movement, which scientists hope will get rid of false readings from more traditional helmet-based devices. Of course, this is all great work. Concussions have for a long time been accepted part of a game. Unfortunately, symptoms can include nausea and headaches, with more long-term problems such as memory loss and CTE. Unfortunately, there is no treatment for concussions right now, but this device is surely a step in the right direction, as it will transmit the information wirelessly to a receiver that can store and create a database with all the strain experienced by the athlete's head and establish a concussion prediction model, according to Sepulveda, which means scientists will ultimately have a better idea of what they're dealing with and hopefully be able to develop a cure further down the line. What do you guys make of all this? Pretty cool, right? Some sad news surrounding the death of Demaryius Thomas. Now, stay with us. Former Denver Bronco Demaryius Thomas sadly passed away last December after a seizure brought on by complications caused by his 2019 car crash. The wide receiver was found unresponsive in the shower, and following his death, his parents decided to donate his brain to scientific research. As a result of investigations into Thomas's brain, it has been revealed that the Super Bowl winner was suffering from stage 2 CTE. It is thought that the condition wasn't responsible for the seizure which led to his death, but nevertheless, it was still there. Thomas's dad, Bobby, said, "Cardiac arrest. You know, it's the way that they're trying to say what kind of happened to him," suggesting that he possibly didn't believe the official verdict. The condition was first brought to light more than 2 decades ago, thanks to work done by Dr. Bennett Amalu, and since then it has been discovered in around 650 athletes post-death. Director of neuropathology at Boston University, Dr. Ann McKee, said, "We found what we've seen in so many other players under the age of 34. On the basis of multiple lesions in the frontal lobe and temporal lobe are beginning degeneration of deeper areas of the brain. He was diagnosed with CTE stage 2. CTE doesn't cause death in itself. It is a degenerative disease which changes behavior and personalities in its victims, which can be severely distressing for loved ones, and Thomas's parents have said that this year before his death, he had started showing signs. Very sad." Next up, the MLS first case of CTE. As we know, football players are at serious risk of developing CTE, given the fact that from a young age and across their careers, they are continually heading balls. And following the death of former MLS defender Scott Vermillion, it has been revealed that he too was suffering from CTE. Vermillion passed away in December of 2020 from alcohol and prescription drug poisoning, which prompted his family to donate his brain to research. And they have now spoken out about the dangers of CTE, which is thought to have developed through what is known as subconcussive blows to the head. Dr. McKee was on hand again to explain more, saying, "You can get concussions in soccer, but it's not the major problem that we find that leads to CTE. It's really these little hits, what we call the subconcussive hits, over time can cause damage to the brain." Vermillion played for more than 20 years, and his dad, Dave, spoke of how there was never any talk of CTE in soccer. He also revealed how after his son's career was curtained through injury, he saw his behavior change. He cut himself off from loved ones and began abusing substances, a classic symptom of CTE. Dr. McKee went on to explain that Scott probably had substantial numbers of these subconcussive blows, which only get worse over time. So sad. Are you an MLS fan? What do you think is the best way to combat this problem? Next up, a current CTE sufferer has spoken out. Don't go anywhere. Bruce Murray, who also played in the MLS as well as across the pond in England, where he turned out for the Millwall and Stockport County, is speaking out about how CTE has affected his life since retiring. The former midfielder retired in the mid-90s and has blamed his early retirement on the continual concussions and collisions. Murray believes his time in the sport brought on CTE, which as we know currently has no cure. The former international, who was on an all-action, fearless attacker, remembers the fallout of one incident in particular after he was kneed in the head when he was playing in Saudi Arabia. He said, "I was on my hands and knees trying to find where my equilibrium was, but for the next 6 weeks to a month, I would go places and not know why I was there, which must have been terrifying." He revealed that he continued to experience symptoms, but of course at the time, nobody knew what CTE was. He reports feeling as though his body just felt beaten up, but more recently, he has been struggling with memory loss and one particularly harrowing incident of not recognizing his own wife. After this, he reached out to Boston University's CTE department, but usually CTE can only be detected after death. Doctors were able to figure out that Murray's brain tissue has actually atrophied, unfortunately. Murray went on to say that he thinks US soccer should address the issue as soon as possible, saying, "What if you rewrote the rules? Do you have to head the ball?" And finally, FIFA has been urged to do away with heading. Heading the ball is a significant part of football, but is it worth it? Given an increase in dementia cases, some have suggested it's time for football's world governing body to act. Heading has come under scrutiny as of late after numerous players have spoken out about battling dementia and other degenerative diseases. And given the fact that heading starts basically as soon as the child begins playing, those in the know have suggested a blanket ban on the practice. Famous cases include members of England's World Cup winning team from 1966. However, balls back then were much heavier. In the US, heading is banned for children under the age of 10, which makes sense. I mean, their brains are still growing, and the global football community have called on FIFA to have a real conversation about heading to prevent further dementia cases in the future. Where do you guys stand on the issue? Should heading be banned in football? Let us know below. As always, thanks for stopping by today. Remember to join us again next time for some more fun and games. And why not do us a solid by liking and sharing today's video, whilst also subscribing to our channel so you don't miss out on any more great bits and pieces going forward. Bye guys!